Hello chess family, it's me, National Master Jesse James, and today we're looking at a very fun game I got to play against the French defense, my Monte Carlo variation, or my attack. In this game, I'm going to be getting what's called a isolated pawn, which is basically a pawn by itself, and when you get the isolated pawn, you must attack. If you go into endgames, well, they're just going to be bad for you, as an isolated pawn is one of the three different types of pawn weaknesses. So here we're going to go over a very fun attacking game, and the idea, particularly, is that when they do play pawn to h6, there's ideas about sacrificing to get an attack. Well, let's go and get to it, my friends. Here we go. I'm playing the white side, here I'm playing opponent around 2200, so a decent master over here. And I went e4, and they played e6. Here we go. The French defense has started. d4, what's better than one pawn in the center? That's two pawns. d5 gets played, the French defense. And here I like to play exchange. So I go pawn takes pawn, and then I play pawn c4. And this takes us into the Monte Carlo variation. Now, if you guys are playing the exchange variation by trading pawns but not playing c4, you're giving yourself a bad position, because to get into winning positions, you must create an imbalance. And if you do not make this trade, the game becomes equal. Okay, well, pawn c4 gets played. And here my opponent plays knight f6. As you can see, we're still in book here. Here, of course, the idea is I want them to take so they can help develop my pieces. Of course, your opponent's not going to be so nice all the time, so they're going to keep developing. And here, just follow the rule. Develop your knights before bishops. Knight c3, putting pressure on the d5 pawn. Remember, we're trying to induce them to take over here. And here, my opponent went ahead and played pawn h6. A weird-looking move that I actually do like here for white and black. In fact, I like it so much, I'm going to go ahead and play it myself. What's the idea of this? Well, if you develop your knight first, your opponent can pin you with bishop g4, or thusly, I could have pinned him with bishop g5, which I definitely would have done. So here, h3 and h6 are simply stopping the bishops from pinning. And here, my opponent, just being nice, went ahead and took on c4. Sometimes your opponents will just be nice to you. Here, I went ahead and played knight to f3. Taking on c4 first would have been better, but hey, knight f3 is still a decent move here. And here, my opponent played bishop b4. Now, this is typically a very good move, but here, maybe not the best. Here, well, I'm just going to go ahead and continue. Bishop takes on c4, winning back my pawn and also getting ready to castle. And here, my opponent played bishop takes c3. Now, there are some lines where this bishop taking on c3 is actually good, but at this point, well, after I play pawn takes back, I've got two good things out of this. One is I have the bishop pair. So the bishops should be good enough to win a chess game by themselves if you use them correctly. And the other thing is, well, remember my isolated pawn? A pawn that has no pawn next to it to defend? Well, look, they just gave me a pawn to defend. So here I very much like my position, and the computer's already giving me like a +1, meaning I'm up an extra pawn, even though I haven't won anything just yet. My opponent castles. Well, I'm not going to leave my king out in the center for too long. Let's go ahead and castle ourselves. And here, black played knight b to d7. This is a very typical and good move here. And, well, the plan here for black is, well, in most positions where this is isolated, black goes ahead and plays knight b6, and then tries to control the d5 square. Anytime there's isolated pawn, you try to control the square in front of it. But this is not isolated pawn, because remember we said this pawn is now next to it. So although this is a decent idea, it's just not the best here. Let's go ahead and keep developing our pieces. Let's keep making threats. Here I went ahead and played rook over to e1. A decent move. Rook goes to an open file here. And here black plays knight b6. Again, they continue with that standard idea, but because it's not isolated anymore, well, it's just not as strong. Later on, I could probably push my pawns forward, and this knight's not going to have a stable home here on d5. All right, bishop went back to b3. You can play it to d3 here also, but I like it on b3 here because, again, I was thinking maybe c4, d5 to come in the future. And here, black plays bishop d7. Unfortunately, his opening moves, although still good, are not the best here. Bishop d7 has the idea of going bishop to c6 here, and, well, the bishop looks pretty good. The bishop's going to be in front of the pawn chain and go on the long diagonal. So why is this bad? Well, here I have a very good move that's going to go ahead and stop that. White to move. What do you play here? Here you get to improve your piece and also put pressure. We're going to go and play knight to e5. Notice that the knight looks very beautiful here, and he's also attacking the bishop, but also putting pressure on c6. So you can, if you want to, play bishop c6 here, although I'd be very happy. I'm probably just going to take here right away. Snack attack, pawn takes, and now I have the full bishop pair. And yeah, I'm pretty sure I'm going to be winning this game, or at least getting very good winning chances with it. So at this point, after knight e5, black saw that they couldn't play bishop c6 anymore, so they went ahead and played bishop e6. A good move, but definitely not the best. All right, what do we play here? Here, I just kept it nice and simple. Here I go ahead and play bishop takes. Now bishop takes is good because remember I had isolated pawn. Now they have isolated pawn, which is no pawn next to it can defend. And because the pawn is on an open file, I'm going to be able to put pressure on this. And so I started off doing that. I wanted to get the rook to attack the pawn, so I played knight g6, getting a free tempo by attacking the rook. My opponent played rook e8, and here I already spawned the idea of the weak h6 pawn. Here I'm already looking about ideas about sacrificing on h6, but you must do this correctly. You can't just sacrifice without any good reason. So here I start off with developing of my queen. My plan here is to put my queen to f3 to g3. Why? Well, when I take on h6, if the queen's on g3, this knight move will actually become a discovered attack. When, well, with discoveries, you'll typically get good ideas. So that's the plan. Here we go. Queen f3 got played. Black played pawn c6, again keeping up with the idea of trying to control d5. Here c6 is also stopping the queen from attacking on b7. So the queen developing move is also developing with a threat. Maybe a little bit better would have been something like queen to d5, but okay. This pawn c6 move gets played. And here I continue with the plan. Queen to g3. And here they don't like this move as much because maybe black can play knight h5 and attack the queen. Well, here they chose the wrong move and played knight b to d5. Again, this is a very typical move. The idea just trying to control the center, but I can always kick this knight if needed. All right, guys, it is white to move. Hopefully you're paying attention at the beginning of this game. White to move and get a very good attack. What do you do here? All right, if you guys haven't already, go ahead and give us that like and subscribe if you want to. Remember, liking this video is going to go ahead and share this with more chess players. All right, we're able to find out the move here. Here we get to play that very nice idea. Remember, h6 is a square you can't sacrifice with. Bishop takes on h6, giving us a brilliant move. And here, well, if black doesn't just take back, well, they're just going to be worse here. So black went ahead and bit. Pawn takes on h6. And here I have discovery moves. Now you can sit here for a little while and try to find the best one. Unfortunately, with everything being protected right now, we can't get the attack winning just yet. But we've got an undefended king, or unprotected king here, and 1, 2, 3 good pieces to attack with. So here, if we just bring in our reinforcements and keep attacking, hopefully our opponent will make a mistake, or their king is just weak enough we can get a strong attack going. Here I started off with knight to e5 check. And this is a strong move because it's going to cover the f7 square. You do have to be very careful here. If black can bring the rook or the queen over here and defend, well, I'm just going to be down a piece for no good reason. And here it's really hard to actually find a square for the king to move to. For instance, you don't want to go to h8. Ew, that'd be disgusting. Knight f7 check will just fork the king and the queen. Okay, what about h7? Here you got the same kind of answer. You go queen g6 first check. The king is forced to h8, and then knight f7's checkmate and forking the king and queen. So really that only leaves one move left, which is king over to f8. And here, we're going to keep up the pressure. Queen over to g6. I like this move. The computer didn't like this one as much, but I like this move. It puts pressure on the unprotected h6 pawn, but it's also getting ready for the next piece to come into the game, this rook right over here. And here my opponent played the best move. Queen over to e7. What's the idea? Well, here the idea is the queen is going to come over and try to defend. Remember, we got to bring more reinforcements in or things are just going to go bad. And here, I want to bring my rook over to e3 or to e4 here so we can slide over and then help out with the attack. But unfortunately, the knight is stopping me. So, simple chess, remove the defender. Here I played pawn c4, kicking the knight. The idea being, I want to go rook e3, rook to f3, and I'm going to like my chances after that. And unfortunately for my opponent, they blundered here right away with knight to f4, losing the game very fast. You know, in these kind of positions where you're attacking, it's so much harder to play the defensive player than it is the attacker. I mean, for most people, attacking is a lot of fun, so most people do not want to be defending, they want to be attacking. And here, black was, you know, they're supposed to play either queen over to g7 or maybe move the knight away. You know, moving the knight away is definitely not the way to go. As it's, again, the rook is going to come in and things are going to get harder and harder. Either way, white was in a plus position or a better position here. But like I said, my opponent blundered with knight to f4. It's white to move. Simple chess. What do you do here? Hopefully it didn't take too long on this one. Here we simply just take the pawn on h6. Less about winning the pawn, but about winning this knight over here. The queen went over to g7, and queen just takes on f4. Here my opponent played rook over to d8. And now, like I was trying to do earlier, all we got to do is bring in reinforcements. Rook went to e3, and my opponent went ahead and resigned. As there really is no good ways to stop my threats coming in. We have rook f3 to put pressure on the knight. Rook over to g3, not only putting pressure on the queen, but maybe coming over to g6 to help put pressure on the knight. So yeah, this is a +6 situation, meaning I'm basically up a rook right here. Alright guys, hope you enjoyed this. Remember the idea of whenever you play against the French, play the Monte Carlo, which means you're going to take him as isolated pawn. And then also whenever you're playing these games, look to try to sacrifice on h6 if given the opportunity. Alright guys, hope you enjoyed this. We'll see you in the next video.